Once before, you know, I was a big fan of Mark Spheri for his multi-axis work, his creativity and humor. But I encountered Jean-Francois before that. It was when I went to Aramont for the first time. I was brand new to woodturning. Just went to Aramont just to give it a try. Took a week-long session with Mark St. Ledger. But there in the lobby was a display of works by Jean-Francois Esquelin. And these two, if you'll switch to this view, these two, the goblet and this tilted box, those are simplifications of what I saw there. And previously my concept of wood turning was spindles and bowls. That was it. So seeing this blew me away, and I had no idea how any of that was done, and it was totally fascinating. So I spent a good while after that workshop investigating, searching for photographs, finding out more about Esquelin. What I found out, his father was a professional spindle turner, so he got started early when he was 16 years old. He went through formal apprenticeship process to get professional certification. He went out on his own and then started getting a little weary of the production routine and started exploring artistic side. And some of his early work includes a lot of carving. He's also an excellent sculptor. So you can switch to this view again. Let's see. Okay, something like that. So, whoop. All right. So this box includes a lot of carving. The appendages are all carved by hand. So, but eventually, this was in 1993. He invented a chuck, which allows for eccentric turning without being between centers, and this results in endless options of what you can do with the multi-axis work. But he developed a particular style that there are some certain features in a lot of his work, as shown on this DVD cover. This is a copy I've made to try to replicate this. This figure of a stem coming down to this broadened circular part. In French they call it a virgule, which in English is a comma, but on this side of the pond we usually call it a golf club. You can kind of see the stem and base of a golf club here. That particular feature is apparent in many of his works. As you can see on this little box, at the base of the box is a little golf club. The two wings are both golf clubs. In this goblet, the little offset finial on top is an upside down golf club. At the very base is another golf club, and coming down the stem, well, no, those are little beads. But this is another variation on this box, again with the golf club at the bottom, and then the spindles, the finials on the top are all the little golf clubs. There are whoop, I'll get to that later. This let me get this out of the way. By the way, these are all copies that I've made. When I look at the photographs and studied them, I was able to figure out a lot of this stuff. Thank you. In doing my research, I was so fascinated with it, but really had no idea how it was done until I met a person another time I went to Aramon. Her name is Ruby Claire, and she had been to the Escalon School in France. I thought, wow, you really went? It's actually possible to go? And she said, yeah, you can go. So I found a way to go. I went in 2014, and I was able to learn the basics of the technique. It was a week-long workshop. And so that led me to trying to copy his works, hoping that I could gain proficiency, and then one day developing my own designs. Still, what really impresses me is how much variety there is, even though he's using similar figures over and over again. His style is fairly recognizable. Well, of course, no one else does this kind of work, but some of the features appear over and over again in different works, but in countless different ways. He's been turning now for over 50 years and still producing new work every year, unlike anything he's done before. It's amazing creativity. So, I'm kind of encouraging you to look into this for yourself, and you could possibly give it a try. Now, most of this is done with a special chuck, and I'll talk more about that in particular. But just to get started, I'll show you a little project that incorporates the golf club, but does not require a special chuck. So you could go home and give this a try. So what I'll be doing is making this little, it's like a scratch-all, but it has the golf club figure on the end. So I'll do this between centers. I'm starting with a blank that's 1 3/4 square by 5 inches long, and I drilled a 1/8 inch hole in it. In the center, yeah. And I'm using here a ring drive, which is recommended for off-center work. I'll give this a try. It allows the wood to freeze if you push a little too hard or get a catch. Instead of having a big reaction like a 4-prong drive might force the wood around, the ring will let the wood stand still while the spindle is still spinning. So I'll crank this in.
That extension on the bottom one, and you pushed it went down into the...
This is spring loaded. This is a one-way ring center. Yeah, the point is spring loaded.
One-way safety center.
Safety center, okay. So, that's still working with the microphone? Okay. I'll just turn it around. And see, there you see it stop. If I push a little too hard, I'll give it a little more pressure. I like to turn a little aggressively sometimes. And I'll go ahead and start tapering the front down. I'm going to leave the last inch straight here. Okay. I guess another thing I can say about the golf club is the shape is not fixed. There can be variations both in the slope of the backside. It can be very sharp angle here, or it can be more gradual. It can be very gradual, and then also on the front side, it can be when you turn away this side, it can be very shallow. It can be deeper. It can start higher up on the stem. There's a lot of design choices, even though the technique is the same. So what I'll do is I'll start my golf club here. That's feeling a little low. So I'm starting to make a cove here, and I'm going to make it rather steep on my left side. And we'll get down to about a ½ inch diameter. So as I look at this, the form is one of the key elements here. You know, to be attractive, the curves need to be consistent, or the cove needs to be balanced. Whatever it is you like, be careful in applying it here. Also, you want to get a good surface here. This would be a good time to sand, as soon as I'm finished. So I could sand on the lathe here, but once I shift the axis, it's not going to be easy to sand anymore. So that's why it would be a good idea to sand at this point. But so first thing I'll do is I'll shift the axis. I'm going to go about halfway in between the center and the outside edge, and we'll see what that looks like. Need to move the tool rest back a little bit, all right, so now when I turn the lathe on,
What is your lathe speed?
so when it's off axis, you want to try to get up to 1200 if you can. Below that, it's going to be hard to get a smooth cut. And above that, you may get vibration, but 1200 and up is what I'm going for. So I hope it shows up in your view. When the wood is off center like that, you'll see what's called ghost wood, where the wood is there part of the time and it's not part of the time. And then in the center, where it's not transparent anymore, that's the solid wood. When I'm looking at how this solid wood lines up with the stem of the golf club, I want it to line up pretty well. It looks like I might be a little short. Another way of looking at this is by checking to see where when the stem is closest to me, how that compares to when the stem is farthest away. Is it going to hit still on the center? I mean, on the solid wood. One of the kind of principles of Escalin's style is once you shift off axis, you turn down to the solid wood. This is different from Barbadill's art cuts and everything else, so I won't go into all that, but I'm going to first turn down to the solid wood. Let's see how that's doing. Okay, so I'm a little short, and it's not quite round yet. I've got just a little ways to go. Okay, so almost there. Just in a hair more to go there.
Spindle or hole gouge?
This is a 1/2 inch spindle gouge. Okay, that should do it. All right, so now I'm ready to turn the bottom side of the golf club. Okay, I'll take a look and see how we're doing. And that's looking at like the familiar golf club shape in there. So try to make sure my form looks good. I want a consistent curve coming around. And I might be able to hold on to this. I'll slow it down a bit when it gets small. Okay, and then finish that off with a little pull saw. So that's the basics of a golf club. And yeah, you can see the two centers on that piece that came off. So what I would do here, when I did this project in the Escalon workshop, they gave me a nail to put in here, and then after using it a few times, my nail just kept driving further in, and now it's buried too deep to use anymore. But so I decided I would use a screw. And that's why I pre-drilled the hole. Easier than drilling it later. So put the screw in here, and then on a grinder, grind away the head. And but remember, it's not high-speed steel, so don't use your CBN wheel. But it's not high-speed steel. This is stainless steel. So you can take a look at these two. Yeah, here. We'll pass that around. So, let me get rid of this one. So we'll move on to a bigger project, but this time using the Escalon chuck. He invented, well, he had some prototypes first, but then, as I understand it, the first chuck we called number 1 came out in 1993, and what I have, I would say is version 1.1. It's the same functionality here. This screws on the spindle, and this portion holds there's a ball inside it. Well, it looks something like this. And there are screws that tighten the ball. Let me. So you see there are holes around the outside of the ball. And for each of those holes, well, not for everyone, there are 3 holes that line up here with these holes, and to use a screw that has a point to go down in that hole. And then there are the other 3 screws have a flat side. Hi, Jerry. This is made by Vicmark in Australia, well, I don't believe these are available right now. I've they used to be sold by the Woodworkers Emporium in Las Vegas, but I believe he ran out of stock, and then he's kind of shut down that business. And I don't know that this version is available now. I'll talk more about the other chucks in a minute. So once I loosen the flat screws, but the pointed screw is in there loosely. So what? So here's the ball. They come in with different size holes. 40 millimeter. This is 22. And the other one is 10. It allows you to use different size woods for different projects. I don't know why this isn't. Oh. Well, now that they're not available in a store, you have to look on eBay or on a tool sale. There is an alternative, which I'll talk about in a minute. Okay, so I got the pivot screw in there. You can see how it pivots one side to the other in an eccentric manner. That's the only motion we've got here. Well, I could have rounded this off between centers, but since I mounted that chuck, I've got another drive center that actually fits inside, so I don't have to remove the other chuck. That's a This is cherry, and this blank is about 2.5 by 9, and I'm going to round it and then part it. So what I'm going to be working on now is a box that's sitting on top of a golf club. Okay. Okay. So I want to separate this so that it's 8.5 by 8.5 and 5 and sorry. This blank is about 9 inches, so I'm separating it at 5.5. I'll have 5.5 here and 3.5 here. I can twist that apart by hand. Remount this one. Okay, so now I need to make a tenon that'll fit inside this ball. And this is the 40 millimeter ball. Chuck comes with a special sizing jig. It has different sizes depending on which ball you're using. This is the 40 millimeter 40 millimeter slot. I'll leave it just a little large for the moment. This tenon needs to be about 1 inch long. I'll size the other end. Getting close. And then I taper this down. I want to have a little gap here of about 1 millimeter, and then it comes up to full size. But this fit is really critical, and I don't always trust myself. So I'm going to double check here with my caliper. That's 39.5. And so if I go out to 40, I'll see where the 40 lands, and it's almost halfway. I think I'll bring it up just a hair more. Check this again. Yeah, I'm up there almost right about the halfway point. That's what I want to see. Okay, so this tenon should fit in the ball. And I press it in with the tailstock. Leave that open. Press it in as hard as I can. Unlike a regular four-jaw chuck where the strength depends on the shoulder, in this case it's strictly a compression fit on that tenon. So I want to be sure I get in there as firmly as possible. I don't think that's moving anymore. Starting to move. Okay, so I can back off the pressure a little bit. And we're ready to start turning. Screw it up. And through the very end. Yep. Having a little trouble seeing the tip of my tool here. Okay, so my first step in this project is to make this cup on top. So I'll start turning the bottom side of the cup. I'll put a little bead on the edge. This is a 5mm Bedan. It's Escalin's favorite tool, so out of respect to him, I try to use it when I can, but it's notorious for being difficult to learn and getting catches in the meantime. So I won't be using it much in front of an audience. Okay, so I need to leave myself support. Oh, thank you. Let's see. I'll drill a little bit of a pilot hole, a depth hole. Yes, thank you. Is that still can allow the camera to see? Okay. See if I can hollow that out a bit. This is just standard box making procedure. But I'm pretty far out from my hold, so I'll be a little bit gentle with this. Oh, it moved. The ball is not firmly screwed down. I don't have my mind entirely on my work when I'm trying to explain what I'm doing. So the screws were not tight, and that allowed the ball to move. It could get worse. Hope hope we don't go there. Fortunately, well, so I think I turned it when it was off center, so I'll have to return that outside. That's so now there's a strong shadow. How's that for your tailstock camera? It's okay. Good. Redo my bead. Touch the corners a little bit. Okay. All right, so try to get back to hollowing. Again, being gentle to start. I need a little shoulder right on the edge. You can use the corner of the badan here. Just going straight in. Okay. Finish the hollowing. A little bit of vibration to ease up a little bit. Okay. So I'll finish the outside. And I could use tail center support here. I'm still on center. So I'll take advantage of that while I can. Putting a homemade cone center on top of my live center and a little piece of foam in there to pad it. Okay, that gives me a lot more confidence to work a little faster. So as a reminder of what I'm going for here is this is the first golf club. I've got the cup started, come down to a thin stem, and then I want sort of a gentle curve in this cove. So that is such a strong shadow now. Okay, good. So, is that too much light on? I'll back it up a little. So what do you think over there?
Okay, shoot right.
I think that's good. A compromise here. Okay, so I'm getting down toward the bottom of this cup, and I'll make a little fillet. Use my little 3/8 inch detail gouge. This is a shallow flute detail gouge by Carter and Sons. It helps for when I get further off the tool rest. It's got a thicker bar to give it more support. But that narrow flute means I can get into a pretty tight spot. Okay. The fillet needs to be a bit smaller. The fillet is a nice transition, marking the transition from the concave shape on the stem to the convex shape under the cup. Okay, so I'll finalize this shape out here. How are we doing? So the surface isn't the best. This is pretty good surface, but this is a little lumpy. I'll try it one more time. Okay. So, that's my shape. I would need to sand at this point if I were doing sanding. But what I'm going to do next is shift the axis to finish the golf club. Again, lots of options here. In this case, what I want to do is maximize the shape, maximize the size of the golf club. So I'll loosen these screws. I don't need 2 pivot screws. So let me get one out of the way. Now freedom of movement here. So what I want is for the top side of the stem, where I'm going to make that transition, the close point to line up with the back side. And you see I'm too far out, so I'll bring it back a little bit. Let me snug that up a little. Where'd my pivot screw go? I'm over there. Let me shift it away. It's the other. I've got one 40 millimeter, 4 millimeter wrench and a 5. The 4 millimeters fit down here, the 5's up here. I won't need the 4 for a while. It's a little bit far still, so I'll bring it in one more little bit. See that this lines up with that. Okay, and then tighten them up. Make sure tool rest is clear. And let's see how it looks while it's spinning. Again, like on that other project, I can look inside and see the ghost wood, and I can see the solid wood inside. And the solid wood lines up with the stem of the golf club. So that's what I want to see. So I'll take the speed up to at least 1200. And start taking off the back side of the golf club. I just go down and turn a cylinder down there. See how I'm doing. So I'm still not round. What I want to do is get down to round. Get down to solid wood. Close, but not quite. Okay, now I am down to round, down to solid wood all the way around here, and I can make this decision about what the shape is up here. I think I want up here to be, I don't want that little lump at the top of the stem. So let me see if I can trim that a little bit. There's not much wood to support the bevel here. So I'm just gliding the bevel over the wood lightly. Okay. Yeah, so sanding would finish that. But I'm ready to do the bottom side of the golf club now. So it's a concave shape here. I mean convex. And also convex on this side. Going down into a V cut. All these shapes are purely optional as to whether it's steep or gradual, and how deep it goes. I'm going to make it fairly deep. Okay. All right, so I've got pretty good surfaces here. I would sand that to finish because, let's see, I'm not so happy about this surface on this side. This is pretty good. But when I shift again, it gets difficult to sand at that point. So I want to have as good a surface as I can and then sand before moving on. Getting kind of tight in there. Okay, that's pretty good. All right, so now it's time for me to make the decision about how I want the base to look. Do I want this cup to be tilted forward or backward, or often, most of the time, I have it tilting backward, so I will shift it this way, loosen the 3 flat screws, then loosen the pivot screw and bring it back to here. And see how much wood I'm going to have to play with. Looks like that'll all fit down on solid wood. Lock it down and turn the next part. Bring my tool resting closer to have less overhang. So I'm getting near solid wood. I want to see where I am. Need to bring it down just a little bit more. Okay, I'm down to round, so solid there. So I'll clean up the base a little bit more. Okay, and then I can part it off. I don't usually have this much surplus at the bottom, but that's just the way it worked out this time. Okay, a little further to go. Get this over here where I can see better. I'm going to put a little chamfer on that bottom of the base. That's just kind of a standard wood turning feature on the bottom of a foot. Getting kind of thin. We'll finish it with a saw. Okay. A little gouge to take off the nub. Okay, so there's the bottom part. I'm real glad that didn't come out of there. Is this a good time for a break?
Yeah.
Oh yes, this Sorby Wobble Chuck is available, and it works on the same principle, except the operation is a lot simpler. This fits in a 4-jaw chuck with dovetail jaws, and then comes with a Allen wrench to loosen. And you'll see right now this screw is straight on central axis, but when you loosen this, oh, there's more than one. And there's an alignment point at that center axis. But as you rotate it, you see this shoulder is angled. So as you rotate it, the screw is now at an angle. And the farther you go, the bigger the angle. So instead of having the ball pivot to create different angles, all we're doing is rotating this to get the different angles. We can go forward or backward. And then you go 180 degrees, and that's your maximum angle, but that's pretty extreme. I think that's 15 degrees. That's pretty extreme. I have not tested to see how big of a piece I can get on here, but I can use either this chuck screw or 3 steel sheet metal screws. I can use sheet metal screws here, or I can use them in combination. So it'll have a firm hold. So it's the same in principle, just totally different operation.
Who makes that?
Sorby wobble chuck. I think Woodcraft sells it. Yep.
Okay, can we get this straight here?
Yep.